Good morning class. I am Dr. Ashwani Katule, Assistant Professor and Community Medicine Department, and today we will discuss theories of disease causation. Up till now we only discuss about diseases, different kind of diseases, disorders, nutritional deficiency disorder, various now we will see that various causative agent or causative factor regarding diseases and what are the different theories are related to that. So on the theories of disease causation, so many theories were there initially, but before what हाँ मतलब इन्होंने तो टाइम टेबल सेट किया है, वो उत्तम जी ने शायद से। आपका मेरा ट्यूसडे था, आपका वेडनेसडे था, पता नहीं, मुझे भी नहीं पता था। मैं कल आई थी, कल किसी और का क्लास चल रहा था तो उन्होंने वेडनेसडे किया है।
मैं बात कर लेता हूँ।
एक बार बात ओके, सॉरी फॉर इंटरप्शन। So today we will discuss theories of disease causation, and initially there were no such kind of proof related to causative agents or causative factor of the diseases. So people were believing on the supernatural theories. Mostly they think that disease is due to superpower, or whoever is feeling ill, having some disorders or diseases or mental disorders especially, that is because of some supernatural power, and God is giving some punishment to the people, that's why they are falling sick. That's why this gradually they believe on the God or positive energy, and they are giving attention to the God, various rituals and various kind of things evolved during that period. And human being is that kind of animal, we can say that. He always wanted always wants someone to believe. We don't want to take our responsibility. We want to put our responsibility on someone's other person, so that we want some for faith related kind of thing. We always want some other people or some other person, or for motivation also, for faith, belief, and many things are there. For that humans want someone. So we for God we can call it as a positive energy, and they are like initially they were believing that sun is a god because it is giving energy. That is true also, but eventually they believe their belief on the God was gradually increased, and whatever, and obviously at that period no proof was there, no lab diagnosis kind of thing was there, and science and technology was not evolved. So they were believe on the God and evil's eye or spirits and so many things. So if anybody is having mental kind of diseases, then people were thinking that this person is sick because of some God is giving punishment to that person. So many supernatural theories were evolved that time. If you want to see that, you can Google also. Many theories were there regarding the supernatural power, evil's eye, and spirits also. So this is they mostly believe on the supernatural power, and now also most that taboos and that belief is constantly going on. That's why we want awareness program. Something are very good regarding their beliefs and taboo, but most of the thing we have to avoid, or we have to eliminate it from the country, we can say that, so that awareness regarding health, sanitation, hygiene and environment we can create to reduce all this theory and beliefs. Then eventually, gradually, this Trishodha theory they evolved. Trishodha is like they believe on three main things like Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Kapha means mucus. Our body, there should be a perfect balance of all threes. In Ayurveda, you can see that everything is based on all these three, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha theory. So eventually they moved toward the more Ayurvedic thing, which was very good, which was the first step for the evolution, we can say that. And they describe that if there is balance between all three in the body, then your health is you have optimum health, and there is no disturbance or your no disease kind of thing in your body. So gradually this three dosha theory evolved, and which was the first step towards the modern medicine. Then again gradually people step forward and they research more ki why all the people are becoming sick, why epidemic. At that time also epidemic was very common, means more than nowadays, very common, and so many people used to die because of small diarrhea kind of epidemic, dysentery kind of epidemic, pellagra kind of epidemic, so many things, ARI, pneumonia. That was very common at that time. So gradually they are thinking why all these people are becoming sick, why epidemic come every 2-3 months, why people are dying because of all these evils or because of punishment of God. Then they some researchers found that something is common between people who are becoming ill at that time. Then they gradually think that it is because of spread of diseases, because of mostly close contact or touching people. People are touching each other. Those people who are sick, if that person touch to other person, then that other person will also sick. They found that chain and linkage between the sick people and common normal people. Then gradually this contagion history started, and after that they discovered the communicable diseases, because this kind of, if somebody is having chronic cough, severe cough with mucus, and that person touch to the other person, automatically that other person also get infected because of that infected person. So this contagion theory evolved after that, after Tridosha theory, and people now searching what is the link, what is the agent. Is it because of environment, is it because of any contact, is it because of any kind of poor hygiene, or is it because of our lifestyle, our living standards. They are discovering all the parameters and all the factors, and this theory evolved after that, which is also one or two step forward of this spirit and supernatural theory. Then after that many theories comes related to environments, related to sanitation, related to hygiene, and very complex kind of they were thinking very simple approach to the disease. And we all know, if disease is there, it is not a simple thing. It is a, I always told you, it is a multifactorial thing. It is not a simple thing. So after they thought about all these parameters and come to the some conclusion, because of some agent all this is going to happen. Then gradually again some step forward, germ theory of disease evolved. In 1860, Louis Pasteur demonstrated the presence of bacteria in the air. That was the footmark of bacteria in the world. Before that, no one was knowing that bacteria, existence of bacteria or existence of microorganism and the surrounding. No one was knowing about that. Then this was the revolutionary research or by the Louis Pasteur, that presence of bacteria in the air, and so much conflict was there because of this theory, and he had to prove very hardly to this theory, so that people accepted this theory after that. And this theory emphasizes that the soul of disease is microbes, many microbes, bacteria, virus, protozoa, fungi, very different kind of microorganisms are responsible for the disease in the human being or in the animal. So they are the main culprit. Microorganisms are the main culprit, and we have to search about the microorganism in that direction only. The theory generally referred to as one-on-one relationship between disease and disease agent and disease. But the lacking factor in this theory is this theory describes only one-to-one contact, that agent and man, or agent or disease, that it is not easy to prove at that time. This is multifactorial effect is also there. Anybody that agent factor and the host factor, they found the linkage between that, but many more factors are responsible for the disease. They were not evolved and at that point. So this theory was not complete projection of the disease, but it's a starting point of germ theory, is a starting point for evolution revolution in the disease pathogenesis, we can say that. Then gradually again they were moving forward toward the disease theory, various kind of theories, and epidemiological trial concept evolved after that. They evolved. The germ theory of disease has many limitations, like one-to-one contact, only one agent and one host was there, and it was not sufficient to describe the whole concept of disease or whole pathogenesis of disease. For example, it will know that all person exposed to the tuberculosis bacilli, but some people only develop tuberculosis, and some condition in an like undernourished person may result into clinically manifest. That means whoever is exposing to that tuberculosis, all person is not going to produce that tuberculosis like of sign and symptom. Why is it so? Why everybody is not not developing all that kind of disease? That thing was lacking in the germ theory. So scientists were so curious about that. Why why everybody is not falling sick because of that ill person? Generally, only some similar kind of conditions were there, and that people are getting sick, like if somebody is having poor overcrowding, or lots of air pollution, indoor air pollution, or undernourished person is that person is cachexia or malnourished or severely malnourished, or it is a chronic thing, then that person is very much susceptible for the tuberculosis. Why is it so? That all the researchers were thinking in that direction only. And after this they developed a epidemiological trial. Now from the single agent or single factor, they are approaching towards the multifactorial thing. They develop the thinking like it is not a single agent or single host or single factor of environment is not responsible. Many more factors are there which is responsible to develop the disease. If person is normal healthy person coming in contact with TB patient, he directly will not develop that tuberculosis. But if that person is having poor socioeconomic status, poor level of hygiene, malnourished, is chronic smoker or alcoholic, and indoor air pollution is there, and other comorbidities are there, that person having more chance of getting sick because of this tuberculosis bacteria, that thing they evolved. Because at that time also diarrhea, pneumonia, tuberculosis, this malaria, polio, this kind of disease, smallpox, chickenpox kind of disease, very common, and frequent outbreak of or frequent epidemic of this diseases were happened at that time. Then one researcher is he is focusing on all the diseases. That's why the main approach regarding the disease or agent, they are not able to get that, but gradually they evolved all this epidemiological trial, and this is the main thing for every disease. If you want to describe any disease, you describe in environment, agent and host related factor, or you think regarding all these three parameters, automatically your 3/4 work will complete. Means you will know the journey of the disease or journey of that pathogen, and to know if you want to break that journey in between, the single factor is sufficient to break that chain. So to control any kind of disease, we have to know the journey of that disease, that pathogenesis of that disease, what are the causative agents of disease. And mostly it is beneficial in chronic diseases. Mostly means they found in chronic diseases, because that duration is very long for the chronic disease, like non-communicable diseases. But in communicable diseases, that journey or that period of infection is very small. So they have to research many more things for the communicable disease as compared to chronic disease. Then after that, finally multifactorial etiology or theory come out. The germ theory of disease or single cause of disease is always not true. They have found that this. And germ theory of disease was overshadowed by multifactorial disease theory, cause of theory in 19th century. As a result of that, the communicable disease begin to decline and are replaced by new type of disease, so called as modern disease of civilization. After that, this multifactorial etiology evolved, and now they were focusing on the journey of that disease or pathophysiology of that disease, and they start breaking all that chain. And that's why the epidemic of all that kind of disease like smallpox or chickenpox or polio or leprosy or tuberculosis is also prevalent nowadays also, but that some deterioration or reduction in the prevalence can happen because of all this disease. And side by side, vaccine and all the technology evolve so that we can eradicate or eliminate some disease with the help of all these theories and all these efforts of scientists. For multifactorial causation, the examples are like lung cancer, chronic heart disease, mental illness kind of thing, and disease could not be explained on the basis of germ theory of disease, which is obvious because it is a single cause. The germ theory is only explaining only single cause, and cannot be controlled or prevent on the basis of that. We cannot control the disease on the basis of that single germ theory. And realization begin that multiple factors are responsible for disease causation, where there is no clear single agent. The purpose of working multiple factors of disease is to quantify and arrange them in priority sequence of modernization to prevent the particular disease. If you want to break the chain of disease, we have to hit on the one major factor. Like if you want to hit on the COVID-19, whatever communicable disease, that is multifactorial approach is also there, but now that communicability and infectivity that of COVID-19 is very high, so that prevention, how to prevent that, awareness is the main prevention, hand sanitization, hand hygiene is the main prevention. So if you want to break that chain, that is the main thing, hand hygiene is the main thing, so that we can prevent, and self isolation or physical distancing is the main thing, so that we can work on the COVID-19. So if you want to cut down the change on the particular thing in that pathophysiology, we have to hit that, and we can control that disease. Now coming to the web of causation, this model of disease causation was suggested by McMahon and Plaque, and this model is ideally suited in the study of chronic disease, where the disease agent is often not known, but is the outcome or outcome of that disease is multiple factorial. Then web of the causation consider all the predisposing factor of any type and their complex interaction with each other. That complexity of that disease can easily explain with the web of causation. The basic tenets of epidemiology are to study the cluster of causes and combination of efforts and how they relate to each other. We will see the example in further slide, so that you will get the clear picture of this. Then web of causation does not imply that the disease cannot be controlled unless all the multiple causes or chain of causation, or at least the number of them, are appreciate control. Sometimes removal of one link may be sufficient to control the disease. Now in web of causation, we can see here the web of causation of MI, myocardial infarction, and you can see that so many factors are responsible for web of causation of any disease. It's not a single thing, and this web of causation is mainly we can beautifully explain for the chronic disease, because that duration, that prolonged period for the chronic disease, because of that we can appreciate all the causative agents and causes which are responsible for that disease. In myocardial infarction, we can see that here so many factors are there, like changing lifestyle, or not taking enough food, lack of physical exercise, smoking, stress, emotional stress or aging, obesity, hypertension, hyperlipidemia, atherosclerosis, or that ultimately lead to myocardial infarction. But it is not like that ki in a 1 or 2 day everything happen. It takes long duration, like years and years, to come to the outcome as in the form of disease. Like if somebody is having genetic family history of myocardial infarction or hypertension or diabetes, they are more prone for the MI or ischemic heart diseases. If their lifestyle is not proper, that person is not taking proper diet, adequate diet, he is taking less fibrous diet, and his lifestyle is also sedentary, and he is alcoholic and smoker also, and he is having lots of stress because of workload and all. He is having lots of stress, and family background is also, family person are also not supportive. All these things are not directly responsible to develop this disease, but they are affecting indirectly to develop the disease. You are getting me? All these points. You are changing lifestyle, or lack of exercise, sedentary lifestyle, or not taking food properly, not drinking enough water, smoking, alcoholism, stress, that ultimately shows that you will move forward to the unbalanced diet, moving forward to the unbalanced diet, and it leads to the obesity or atherosclerosis kind of disease, and that leads to hypertension or diabetes kind of diseases. And hypertension, if somebody is developing hypertension, gradually that hypertension will progress toward the myocardial ischemia, or that coronary occlusion of all the walls occlusion of all the walls of arteries. And this is the beautiful picture of how any disease develop from means basic thing. We can discuss that how beautifully that progression of disease happen. And this is we can explain in the chronic disease, because the duration is very long and person is able to recollect or analyze himself, and he can tell you the beautiful history of that. Initially, before 10 years, I was like very stressed. My habits were, my daily routine was like this, my habits were like this, and gradually I developed hyperlipidemia. One day I tested for myself and hyperlipidemia was there. Gradually then hypertension developed, diabetes developed, and now I am suffering from first attack. Like that, person will tell you all the history, and on the basis of that, if you are taking history of any person, you collect all this point, easily you can draw the web of causation for that disease for that person. And in this is not for UG, but for postgraduate, if you are taking any kind of history, then you have to draw web of causation, how all this disease progress in that person, so that it will help you to recollect all the point and to break that chain to reduce or prevent that disease. So this is the very beautiful picture, and itself that picture is telling you all the problem in that person and how this is developed in that person. So if you open your park and that history, if you want to elaborate, a beautiful thing they have elaborate in that, means various kind of theories, various kind of wave of causation, and many more books are also there. Those are explaining beautifully all this wave of causation. Now up till now we have seen all the causative related to causative agent and various theories related to disease. Now how to control that, concept of control, how that evolved, we will see that. Now disease control, the term disease control refer the ongoing operation aimed to reducing that. How we can reduce that? We can reduce by that disease by reducing incidence of that disease, the duration of disease, and the risk of transmission. If we reduce, then automatically the prevalence or incidence of that disease automatically reduce. If you work on the duration of disease, if you want to cut down the prevalence of COVID-19 nowadays, then you have to reduce that, as well as treatment, you have to reduce the duration of disease and number of people, you have to cut down the number of people suffering because of that disease. How you can prevent that? You have to reduce the transmission period. For that, government are saying all that lockdown system, because people are not getting that key, they have to stay at home, so that they have to forcefully push them at their home. So to reduce any disease, we have to hit one transmission chain, we have to cut down that transmission chain, so that automatically incidence will lower down, and automatically because of incidence, prevalence also lower down. The effect of infection, including physical, psychological complications also, and financial burden to the community, so that we have to reduce the disease. As we can say that if immunization is programmed there. For single polio drop, which is costing, which is free of cost to the people, government has to invest for per drop minimum 1,000 rupees, because all the cost they include in that, and whatever cost for the all the program they have to invest, it is all from the common bank of the country. So for single drop of polio they have to invest 1,000 rupees. It include all the production cost, transportation cost, cold chain maintenance cost, and all that periphery healthcare setup cost also. So tuberculosis also, it's a very burdenful disease for the country, because all the medicines are free, and we have to invest lots of human beings or manpower to regulate that disease. ASHA, methane, and other workers, that production of that tuberculosis tablets. So it is a huge burden for community, and if you want to reduce all this burden, financial burden also, psychological burden also, in the community, or at the government point of view, from the government point of view, or from the community point of view, you have to cut down the transmission, and you have to lower down the incidence and prevalence. That is the best method. The disease control, the disease agent is permitted to persist in the community at the level where it causes the public health problem according to the tolerance of the local community. Means this is also disease control is the major power to reduce the incidence of the disease. This is the simple definition of that, and best example is malaria control program. Malaria is also very prevalent disease. This then elimination and eradication in the concept of control of diseases. Elimination is reduction of the case transmission to the predetermined very low level, or interruption in the transmission, and we already eliminate measles, polio, leprosy from the geographical area. And eradication is the term in which termination of all transmission of infection by extermination of the infectious agent through surveillance and contaminant. It is a all and none phenomenon, and best example is smallpox, because we eradicated smallpox. Monitoring is also very important. If you monitor some program in between, the monitoring is the best tool, because of that whatever loopholes or lacunae in your program, we can easily assess that. So frequent intermediate monitoring should be there, and it is defined as the performance and analysis of routine measurement aimed to detecting the changes in the environment or the health status of the population. And example is growth monitoring of the children, monitoring of air pollution, monitoring of water quality, and many more are there. Surveillance is a continuous scrutiny of factors that determine the occurrence and distribution of disease and other condition of ill health. Various kind of program, AIDS and polio surveillance program are there, examples are there. You should know all this definition, so that in Viva, if you know all this basic definition, you can easily go through that exam. Now concept of prevention. Coming to the concept of prevention, there are four kind of prevention are there: primordial prevention, primary prevention, secondary prevention, and tertiary prevention. What does mean by primordial prevention? Prevention of risk factor is the primordial prevention. What we have to prevent that disease, or we have to give intervention in between, so that we can prevent that risk factor. If risk factor will not develop in the body, automatically disease will not develop, or any bad effect of that risk factor will not develop. So we have to cut down the risk factor, and prevention of emergency and development of risk factor also. And how we will do that? Best example is if anybody is having family history of hypertension or diabetes, we will if and children are there in that family, we will give education and we will give intervention for that children so that they will not develop the risk factor in the future. And what kind of prevention for risk factor you will do? You will cut down the salt consumption, regular exercises, yoga, healthy lifestyle, lots of fiber in the food, and fat level should be low, fried foods and all, pickles and all, everything they have to cut down so that risk factor will not develop in the children. It is not like that. Anything is not 100% with assurity that all this prevention you will do, then 100% that child will not suffer from the hypertension. But this prevention will give you some chance that reduction of risk factor, chances of developing that disease will deteriorate or reduce because of primordial prevention. So this is the best prevention to prevent. Primordial prevention is the best prevention to prevent any risk factor or disease. When primary prevention, it is primary prevention is pre-pathogenesis phase of the disease and action taken prior to the onset of disease. This is the basic difference of prevention of primary prevention and primordial prevention. In primordial prevention, we are working on the risk factor. We are taking action prior to the development of the risk factor. And in primary prevention, we are taking action prior to the onset of disease. So it is one step forward, means after means primordial prevention is one step forward, and primary prevention is like we have to prevent the disease. If a risk factor can be there in the body, but we have to prevent the disease now. And best example is immunization and chemoprophylaxis. Secondary prevention, whatever progress of disease is there, we have to give early diagnosis for them, and we have to give early treatment for the patient, and early and optimal treatment. And secondary and tertiary prevention is people are already suffering from the disease, so we can do only early diagnosis and treatment, specific treatment. And in tertiary prevention, intervention in the late pathogenesis phase, like late cancer stage, already developed CHD, and you are giving treatment to them. That kind of late intervention or rehabilitation kind of thing we can do in the tertiary prevention. Best example is chemotherapy and all, and rehabilitation therapy for the cancer patient. It reduces the impairment and minimize the disability and suffering of the disease. So thank you all. I hope you understand all the this web of causation, prevention kind of thing. And if any doubt is there, if you have any doubt, any query, you can ask me anytime. In next chapter we will see something related to concept of health. Thank you.